A 10-year-old boy walks into a bank. He's got shoes that have seen better days, a jacket that swallows his thin frame, and a simple request. All he wants is to check his account balance. Sounds innocent enough, right? But what happens next will make your blood boil. And trust me, by the end of this story, the people who laughed at him will be the ones begging for mercy. So this kid, Wesley, stands at that shiny marble counter. His sneakers have cracks running through the soles, laces so frayed they barely hold together. You know the kind of shoes I'm talking about. The ones that tell a story before you even open your mouth. And standing there, facing him, is Bradley. Branch manager. 15 years in banking. Expensive suit, even more expensive cologne. The kind of guy who thinks his title makes him better than everyone else. Wesley speaks up, polite as can be. He asks to check his account. Simple question. But Bradley doesn't even process the words at first. He's too busy looking this child up and down like he's examining something unpleasant stuck to his shoe. Then it happens. Bradley starts laughing. Not a small chuckle. A full-on, echo across the lobby kind of laugh. And here's where it gets ugly. Bradley announces to everyone within earshot that this is a real bank, not some welfare office for street kids. Yeah. He actually said that. Out loud. In front of witnesses. Then he keeps going, each word sharper than the last. He points at Wesley's shoes. Points at his skin. Says these people are all the same. Looking for handouts. Taking what doesn't belong to them. Now pause for a second. Think about being 10 years old. Think about standing in a room full of adults while someone with authority tears you apart. Not because of anything you did. Not because you were rude or aggressive. Simply because of how you look. Wesley doesn't run though. His grandmother raised him better than that. He stands his ground and explains that yes, he does have an account there. His grandmother opened it for him before she passed away 2 months earlier. 2 months. This child is still grieving and he's being treated like a criminal. He pulls out a brown envelope. Inside are all the documents. Bank card. Letter from his grandmother. Everything properly organized. But Bradley isn't interested in facts. He's already made up his mind about who Wesley is based on a 5-second visual assessment. And when Bradley sees the bank card, something interesting flickers across his face. See, this isn't just any card. It's Platinum Reserve. The kind they only give to high-value clients. The kind that should make someone pause and reconsider. But prejudice is a funny thing. It can make you ignore reality even when it's staring you right in the face. Bradley convinces himself this must be stolen. Because how else would a black kid from what he assumes is the projects end up with premium banking credentials? His logic is twisted, but in his mind it makes perfect sense. So Bradley snatches the envelope. Examines everything like he's a detective who just cracked a case. Then comes the accusation. Where did you steal this? Not is this really yours, or can you help me verify this? Straight to theft. Straight to assuming the worst possible scenario. Wesley's hands start shaking. Can you imagine? Your grandmother just died. She left you everything she worked for. You're trying to be responsible, trying to do what she asked. And someone accuses you of being a thief. This 10-year-old has to defend himself against allegations that would rattle most adults. He tries explaining again. My grandmother was a teacher. She saved this money for me. But Bradley cuts him off with dripping sarcasm. Your grandmother? Right. A teacher who left you a fortune. What did she really do, rob a bank herself? Let that sink in. He's mocking a dead woman. A woman who dedicated her life to educating children. A woman who sacrificed everything so her grandson could have opportunities she never had. And this banker is making jokes about her being a criminal. Bradley tells Wesley to sit in the corner. Not near the comfortable seating where actual customers wait. Not at a proper desk. In the corner by the janitor's closet. Near the bathrooms. The worst spot in the entire building. It's deliberate. It's designed to humiliate. And it works. Wesley walks over there, each step heavier than the last. He sits on a cold metal chair while life continues around him. People come in, get helped immediately, leave satisfied. But not Wesley. He's invisible now. Erased from consideration. He watches Bradley help a white guy in a golf shirt who arrived 15 minutes after him. No questions asked. No demands for extra identification. Just smiles and handshakes and welcome to First National Heritage Bank. The contrast couldn't be more obvious if someone painted it in neon colors. Minutes tick by. 15. 20. 25. Wesley sits there alone, clutching his grandmother's letter. The paper's getting soft from being handled so much. The edges are fraying. Just like his nerves. He reads her words over and over. Never let anyone make you feel small. You are worth more than they will ever know. His Uncle Lawrence texts. Stuck in a meeting, be there in 20 minutes. Wesley texts back that everything's fine. But it's not fine. Nothing about this is fine. He's being treated like garbage while everyone around him either participates in the cruelty or pretends not to notice. And speaking of people pretending not to notice, let's talk about everyone else in that bank. There's a security guard named Jerome. He's black, like Wesley. He's watching everything unfold. He wants to say something. God, he wants to speak up so badly. But he's got a mortgage. 2 kids in college. 11 years building toward a pension. Speaking up could cost him everything. So Jerome looks away. Hates himself for it. But looks away anyway. Because survival sometimes means choosing silence over righteousness. And that's a tragedy in itself. There's this woman, Diane. She completes her transaction, sees Wesley sitting there alone, feels uncomfortable about it. For a brief moment, it seems like she might do something. Might ask if he's okay. Might show basic human decency. But she clutches her designer purse tighter and walks out. Her heels clicking against the marble, each click a small betrayal. Nobody helps. Nobody intervenes. Nobody even questions what's happening. They just let it continue because it's easier than getting involved. Finally, after 32 minutes, Bradley calls Wesley over. Not to the main counter where regular customers conduct business. To a small desk in the back corner. Away from the pleasant areas. Away from the coffee and comfortable chairs. Visible to everyone but isolated. Like putting someone in a cage at the zoo. Bradley launches into what he probably thinks is a professional interrogation. He questions everything. Where are Wesley's parents? Where's his guardian? Why does he look like he doesn't belong in an institution like this? That last part he actually says out loud. You don't look like you belong here. Wesley explains that his father left before he was born. His mother died in a car accident when he was 3. He lives with his uncle who's currently in a meeting. But Bradley isn't satisfied. He decides this uncle must be fictional. Another part of the scam this 10-year-old is supposedly running. The cruelty escalates. Bradley stands up, raises his voice so the entire lobby can hear, and delivers this speech about how this is what they deal with every day. People who don't belong trying to take what isn't theirs. He's turning Wesley's personal struggle into a public spectacle. Making an example out of a grieving child. Customers watch. Some nod in agreement. Others look uncomfortable but stay quiet. The silence of supposed good people is deafening. And Bradley feeds off it. He points at Wesley and announces he's freezing the account pending a full investigation. Says he knows fraud when he sees it. Wesley's vision blurs with tears. He's trying so hard not to cry because some voice in his head says boys don't cry. But another voice, his grandmother's voice, reminds him that feeling is strength. So he lets the tears come. He tries one more time to explain. My grandma worked 40 years. She was a teacher. She saved everything for me. She promised. But Bradley interrupts with 4 words that cut like knives, spare me the sob story. Then comes the final humiliation. Bradley orders security to escort Wesley out. Tells him to try a homeless shelter or street corner next time because that's his natural environment. Someone in the lobby actually laughs at this. A real, genuine laugh at a child being destroyed. Wesley stands up, picks up his grandmother's letter, and walks toward the exit. His phone starts ringing. Uncle Lawrence calling. But Wesley's hands are shaking so badly he drops it. The phone crashes onto the marble floor. Screen cracks. Just like his heart. Jerome picks it up, hands it back. Their eyes meet. Wesley sees shame in the guard's face. Deep, soul-crushing shame. But shame without action is meaningless. Jerome says nothing. Does nothing. Lets the boy walk out alone. Wesley pushes through the automatic doors into the November cold. The wind bites through his thin jacket. He sits on a stone bench in the parking lot, makes himself as small as possible, and finally breaks down completely. He looks at his shoes. The ones Bradley mocked. The ones everyone laughed at. His grandmother bought them at a thrift store for $2 last spring. Wesley had been embarrassed initially. Other kids had name brands. But his grandmother had knelt down, tied those laces, and said something he'd never forget: shoes don't make the man, baby. Character does. And you have more character in your little finger than most people have in their whole bodies. Now he understands. Every dollar she didn't spend on herself was a dollar saved for his future. She wore broken shoes held together with tape so he could have opportunities. She rode buses in the rain so he could go to college someday. Everything she did was for him. The tears fall onto his cracked phone screen. He tries calling his uncle again. Straight to voicemail. He texts through blurry vision, Uncle Lawrence, they kicked me out. They said I stole Grandma's card. They called me a thief. No response. The meeting must still be running. Wesley has nobody. He's completely alone on this bench while people walk past. A businesswoman sees him crying, sees he just got thrown out of the bank, and keeps walking. A man with a dog jogs by. The dog wants to stop and investigate, but the owner yanks the leash and hurries on. Cars pull in and out. People enter the bank. People leave the bank. Nobody stops. Nobody asks if he's okay. Wesley is invisible. Again. He unfolds his grandmother's letter one more time. The paper's damp with tears now. Her handwriting was shaky but filled with love. My brave Wesley, the world will sometimes be cruel. People will judge you by your shoes, your clothes, the color of your skin. They will try to make you feel worthless. But you are not worthless. You are my greatest treasure. She'd promised him. Sitting in her tiny kitchen eating chocolate chip pancakes, she'd promised that one day he'd walk into that bank and they'd treat him like royalty. They'd call him sir and shake his hand. Today they called him a beggar. A thief. A con artist. Today they threw him out like trash. Inside the bank, life continues. Diane stands near the entrance, frozen. She'd made it all the way to her car but couldn't turn the key. Couldn't drive away. Guilt pulled her back inside. Now she watches Wesley through the glass doors, sitting on that bench, crying alone. She should go to him. Should offer comfort. But what would she even say? She stood there and watched him get destroyed. What right does she have to comfort him now? Jerome stands at his post by the door. His eyes keep drifting to the parking lot. To the small figure on the bench. His chest feels tight. 11 years ago, Jerome was that boy. Different bank, different city, same humiliation. A white manager refused to cash his paycheck. Need extra verification for people like you. A security guard followed him through stores. A realtor suddenly found apartments unavailable after seeing his face. 1,000 small cuts over a lifetime. Some not so small. And now Jerome's the one in the uniform. The one following orders. The one enabling cruelty. His younger self would be disgusted with who he's become. He moves toward the door. Maybe he can just check on the kid. But Bradley's voice cuts through the lobby. Jerome. There's a delivery at the back entrance. Handle it. Jerome hesitates for maybe 2 seconds. Then he turns and walks toward the back. The moment passes. He's still a coward. But outside, Wesley's not alone for much longer. A black Mercedes S-Class turns into the parking lot. Sleek. Silent. Expensive. It stops near the entrance. The door opens. Lawrence Brooks steps out. Tall guy, probably 6'2". Wearing a silver-gray suit that costs more than Bradley makes in a month. Distinguished looking with silver at his temples. The kind of presence that makes people instinctively straighten up. He spots Wesley immediately. His nephew. His late sister's only child. The last living piece of his mother Eleanor remaining in this world. Sitting on a cold bench. Crying. Clutching a crumpled letter. Completely alone. Lawrence's jaw tightens. A muscle twitches beneath his eye. The only visible sign of the fury building inside him. He walks to the bench and kneels down so he's at Wesley's eye level. Hey, champ. His voice is gentle. Such a contrast to everything Wesley's heard in the past hour. I'm here now. Wesley looks up. His face completely crumbles. Uncle Lawrence. He throws himself into his uncle's arms and just sobs. Tears and snot staining that expensive shoulder. Lawrence doesn't care about the suit. Doesn't even notice it. He holds his nephew tight, doesn't rush him, doesn't ask questions yet. Just lets the boy cry until the shaking stops. Then Wesley tells him everything. Every word. Every insult. Every laugh. Every moment of humiliation. Lawrence listens in absolute silence. His face stays calm and controlled, but his eyes grow darker with each sentence. Harder. Colder. When Wesley finishes, Lawrence stands up slowly. You did nothing wrong, he says, voice firm as bedrock. Nothing. Do you understand me? This is not your fault. None of it. He pauses. But they were wrong. And they're about to find out exactly how wrong. He takes Wesley's hand, starts walking toward the bank entrance. Wesley pulls back. I don't want to go back in there. Please, Uncle Lawrence. Please. Lawrence kneels down again. I know, champ. I know it's scary. But sometimes we have to face the people who hurt us. Not to fight them. Not to yell at them. But to show them that they couldn't break us. That we're still standing. That they have no power over us. Wesley looks at those glass doors. At the marble lobby beyond. At the place where he was destroyed. He thinks about his grandmother. What would she want him to do? Dignity is not given. It is carried. Okay, he whispers. Okay. Another car pulls into the parking lot. A luxury SUV with tinted windows. A woman steps out. Tall, elegant, professional. Patricia Edwards, Regional Director of First National Heritage Bank. She'd been driving to the quarterly investor visit when her phone rang. Lawrence Brooks on the line. CEO of Meridian Capital Holdings. The bank's largest institutional investor. He explained what happened in exactly 60 seconds. Calm. Factual. Devastating. Patricia immediately changed course. She approaches Lawrence now and nods respectfully. Mr. Brooks, I cannot tell you how sorry I am. This is completely unacceptable. Lawrence's expression doesn't soften. We'll discuss what's acceptable inside. My nephew deserves an apology. And I want to see exactly who we're dealing with. They walk toward the entrance together. Lawrence, Patricia, Wesley. Wesley's heart is pounding so hard he can feel it in his ears. His legs feel weak, like they might give out. Last time he walked through these doors, he was thrown out like garbage. Now he's walking back in with his uncle's hand warm around his, with a regional director beside them. The automatic doors slide open. The lobby falls silent. Every single head turns. Bradley sees Patricia first. His face goes white as chalk. Regional director. Unannounced visit. This is very, very bad. He hurries over, adjusting his tie, forcing his VIP smile onto his face. Ms. Edwards, what a wonderful surprise. We weren't expecting you until. Plans changed, Patricia says. Her voice could freeze water. Then Bradley notices the man beside her. Tall, distinguished, the kind of suit that screams money and power. And he's holding hands with. Bradley's stomach drops. The black kid. The one he just threw out. The one he called a thief, a beggar, a con artist. The kid is back. And he's holding hands with someone who clearly matters. I'd like to introduce you to someone, Patricia says. Her voice carries across the silent lobby. This is Lawrence Brooks, founder and CEO of Meridian Capital Holdings. The name hits Bradley like a physical blow. Meridian Capital Holdings. The bank's largest institutional investor. 34% ownership of the parent company. The man who can make or break careers with a single phone call. That man, that Lawrence Brooks, is holding hands with the kid Bradley just destroyed. I believe you've already met my nephew, Lawrence says quietly. He steps aside. Wesley stands there, eyes still red, grandmother's letter still clutched to his chest. But now he's standing straight. Chin up. Shoulders back. Bradley's face cycles through emotions like a slot machine. Confusion. Recognition. Dawning horror. Pure terror. I didn't, if I had known who he was. That's exactly the problem, Lawrence says. Isn't it? Chelsea drops her pen. It clatters against the marble floor like a gunshot in the silence. Jerome, standing near the back now, feels something shift in his chest. Something that's been dead for 11 years, stirring back to life. Diane presses both hands against her mouth. Tears stream down her face. Every single person in that lobby is watching. The customers who laughed. The employees who enabled it. The bystanders who stayed silent. All of them witnesses now to what's about to happen. Lawrence releases Wesley's hand. He walks toward Bradley slowly. Each step deliberate. Each step measured. The walk of a man who knows his power and doesn't need to rush. Bradley takes a step backward. His back hits the marble counter. Nowhere to run. Mr. Whitmore. Lawrence's voice isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. The entire lobby is holding its breath. My nephew came here today to check his account balance. His grandmother, my mother, left him that money as his inheritance. It's legally his. Every penny. Can you explain why he was denied service? Bradley's mouth opens. Closes. Opens again. He looks like a fish drowning in air. There were irregularities. We were just following standard protocol. What irregularities? Lawrence's voice remains calm. Controlled. Somehow that makes it more terrifying than shouting. The account is properly documented. The funds have been verified by your own bank. What specific irregularity justified treating a 10-year-old child like a criminal? I didn't realize, if I had known who he was. That's exactly the problem. Lawrence steps closer. Bradley tries to press himself into the counter, but there's nowhere to go. You didn't know who he was, so you decided he was nobody. You saw a black kid in worn-out shoes and you made a judgment. Not about protocols. Not about policies. About who deserves to be treated like a human being. The words land like hammer blows. Nobody moves. Nobody breathes. My mother worked 40 years as an elementary school teacher, Lawrence continues. She rode the bus until she was 70 because she never wanted to waste money on a car. She wore the same winter coat for 15 years. She ate store-brand groceries so she could put money aside. He pauses. If she had walked in here today, you would have treated her exactly the same way. Laughed at her. Humiliated her. Thrown her out. Bradley says nothing. There's nothing to say. She would have deserved better. Just like Wesley. Just like every single person who walks through those doors. Lawrence turns to Patricia. Before we discuss consequences, I want Mr. Whitmore to see something. Patricia nods. Lawrence walks to the main counter. Wesley follows, still holding his hand. Chelsea stands behind her computer, frozen. Her face is the color of old paper. Pull up my nephew's account, Lawrence says. It's not a request. Chelsea looks at Patricia. Patricia nods once. Trembling fingers type. The screen loads slowly. Everyone holds their breath. And there it is. Account balance, $487,263. Almost $500,000. 40 years of a teacher's salary. Every birthday card with money tucked inside. Every Christmas bonus. Every summer tutoring job. Every single dollar Eleanor Brooks had earned, saved, sacrificed. All for Wesley. Bradley stares at the number. His face goes gray. His mouth falls open. No sound comes out. Complete silence. Then Lawrence speaks. He laughed at your shoes. His voice is quiet but carries to every corner of the lobby. He stopped laughing when he saw the balance. The number glows on the screen. $487,263. Bradley can't stop staring at it. His brain can't process what his eyes are seeing. $500,000 in an account belonging to the kid he just called a beggar. That, Lawrence says, pointing at the screen, is the money my mother saved over 40 years. She rode buses in the rain so Wesley could go to college someday. She wore second-hand clothes so Wesley could have a future. She ate rice and beans for dinner so Wesley would never go hungry. He pauses. Lets the words sink in. And you almost took that away from him because of his shoes. Bradley finally finds his voice. It comes out cracked and desperate. I didn't know, if I had known there was that much money. And that's the real problem. Lawrence's voice goes cold. Sharp as a blade. You would have treated him differently if you knew he had money. Your respect comes with a price tag. But human dignity doesn't. He looks at the number one more time, then at Wesley. My mother always said something to me. A person who treats the waiter differently than the CEO has no character at all. Today you showed your character, Mr. Whitmore. The whole lobby saw it. Bradley has nothing to say. Because Lawrence is right and everyone knows it. Patricia steps forward. Her heels click against the marble like a countdown. Bradley. My office. Now. Bradley doesn't move. Can't move. His legs have turned to concrete. Bradley. He blinks. Looks at Patricia, then at Lawrence, then at Wesley. The boy he mocked. Insulted. Humiliated. Threw out. The boy whose grandmother trusted him with everything she'd ever earned. Bradley's career flashes before his eyes. 15 years. Building relationships. Climbing the ladder. Corner office. Company car. All of it crumbling like sand. I can explain, he whispers. You'll have that opportunity, Patricia says. Her voice is ice and iron. In private. Now. She turns and walks toward the back offices. Bradley follows on unsteady legs. Lawrence watches them go. Then he kneels beside Wesley. You okay, champ? Wesley nods slowly. His eyes are still fixed on the screen. Grandma saved all that for me. Every single penny. She started the account the day you were born. Added to it every month. Never missed once, even when times were hard. But she never had nice things. Her apartment was so small. Because she was giving everything to you. Lawrence's voice is soft. That's what love looks like sometimes, Wesley. Sacrifice. Putting someone else's future ahead of your own comfort. Wesley thinks about all the times Grandma Eleanor said no to things for herself. The winter coat with the broken zipper. The ancient television that took 5 minutes to warm up. The reading glasses held together with tape. She could have had so much more. Instead, she gave it all to him. I'm going to make her proud, Wesley whispers. I promise. You already have, champ. Lawrence squeezes his shoulder. You already have. Inside Bradley's office, the temperature has dropped 20 degrees. Patricia sits in Bradley's chair. Behind Bradley's desk. A deliberate choice. Lawrence stands by the window, arms crossed. A silent witness. Bradley sits in the visitor's chair. The cheap one. The one where customers sit when they come to beg for loans. I've already reviewed the security footage, Patricia says. She turns her laptop around. Presses play. Bradley watches himself laugh at Wesley. Call him a beggar. Threaten to call security. Announce to the entire lobby that black kids don't belong in real banks. His own voice. His own words. His own cruelty. Recorded forever. You violated 3 company policies, Patricia says. Her voice is clinical. Methodical. Discrimination based on race and appearance. Denial of service without legitimate cause. And falsification of official records. Bradley's head jerks up. Falsification? Patricia pulls up a document. You filed an incident report 23 minutes ago. It states that Wesley Brooks was aggressive, threatening, and refused to provide proper identification when asked. She looks at him. The security footage shows a polite 10-year-old boy asking to check his account. It shows you laughing at him, insulting his race, and having him physically removed from the premises. I was protecting the bank's interests. You were protecting your prejudices, Patricia says. There's a significant difference. She stands. Walks around the desk. Stands over Bradley like a judge about to deliver sentence. Effective immediately, you are suspended without pay. Your quarterly bonus, all $35,000 of it, is forfeit. A full HR investigation will begin tomorrow morning. If it confirms discriminatory intent, and based on this footage it will, termination for cause will follow. Bradley's face crumbles like wet paper. 15 years. I gave this bank 15 years. And in 15 years you should have learned that every customer deserves basic respect. Patricia opens the door. Security will escort you to collect your personal belongings. Your access credentials have already been revoked. Bradley stands. His legs barely support him. He looks at Lawrence one last time, searching for mercy. Finding none. If he wasn't your nephew. Bradley starts. You're right, Lawrence says. His voice is quiet. Devastating. If he wasn't my nephew, he would have walked out with nothing. Filed a complaint that would have been ignored. Maybe called a lawyer who would have told him it wasn't worth pursuing. That's exactly the problem, Mr. Whitmore. He shouldn't need me to be treated like a human being. No one should. Bradley has no response. He walks out of his own office. Past his own employees. Through his own lobby. For the last time. Chelsea is next. She sits in the same meeting room where she'd whispered about Wesley. Smirked at his humiliation. Enabled Bradley's cruelty. Now she's in the hot seat. You didn't start this, Patricia says. But you participated in it. You reinforced Mr. Whitmore's behavior. You failed to intervene when a child was being abused. Chelsea's mascara runs down her cheeks in black rivers. I knew it was wrong. Her voice cracks. I didn't want to make trouble. I didn't want to be the one who. Silence is not neutral, Ms. Morrison. Silence is a choice. And it has consequences. Patricia outlines the disciplinary measures. Formal reprimand. Mandatory training. Permanent note in her file. Zero tolerance for any future incidents. Chelsea nods through her tears. Accepts everything. She's learned something today. The lesson cost her dignity, but at least she still has a job. Jerome stands by the entrance after his meeting with Lawrence. Not a formal meeting. Just two men talking. You picked up his phone when he dropped it, Lawrence says. You handed it back to him. It wasn't enough. No, it wasn't. Lawrence doesn't soften the truth. But it was something. A small kindness in a moment when he had none. I should have done more. I should have said something. I should have. You should have. Yes. Lawrence looks at him steadily. The question is, what will you do next time? Jerome thinks about his mortgage. His kids. His pension. Then he thinks about Wesley. 10 years old. Crying on a bench. Completely alone. Next time I speak up, he says. No matter what. Lawrence nods. Extends his hand. Jerome shakes it. It's not absolution. It's not forgiveness. It's a promise to himself. To Wesley. To every person he might be able to help in the future. A promise he intends to keep. Diane has been waiting through all the meetings. All the drama. All the reckoning. She's still there when Wesley and Lawrence walk toward the exit. Wait. Her voice comes out strangled. Please. They stop. Diane approaches slowly. Her eyes are red. Her hands are shaking. I'm so sorry. The words tumble out. I was there. I saw everything. I should have said something. I should have defended you. But I stood there like a coward. Wesley looks at her. This woman who watched his humiliation in silence. He thinks about his grandmother. What would she say? Forgiveness isn't about them, baby. It's about setting yourself free. You came back, Wesley says quietly. That matters. Diane's tears fall faster. I'm filing a complaint. A formal one. As a witness. Everything I saw. Everything they said. It goes on the record. Lawrence nods. That takes courage. It takes less courage than your nephew showed today, Diane says. She looks at Wesley. He stood there and took everything they threw at him. He didn't run. He didn't scream. He just endured with dignity. I don't know if I could have done that. Wesley doesn't know what to say, so he says the only thing that feels true. "Thank you for coming back." Diane nods. Wipes her eyes. Walks to customer service to file her complaint. One small act of courage. It's a start. The news spreads through the bank like wildfire. By closing time, everyone knows. Bradley Whitmore, 15-year veteran, branch manager, terminated for cause. The official reason? Violation of company policies regarding customer service and professional conduct. The real reason spreads through whispers and texts. He mocked a black kid. Called him a beggar. Threw him out. Turns out the kid's uncle owns a third of the bank. By the next morning, it's regional news. By the following week, national. Not the details. Those are kept private to protect Wesley. But the story gets out. Bank manager fired for discriminating against a child. Major investor involved. Complete corporate accountability. People talk about it. Argue about it. Share their own stories. It becomes a moment. Bradley's termination is finalized within 72 hours. No severance. No recommendation letter. No pension benefits beyond what's legally required. 15 years of work, gone in 15 minutes. He applies to other banks. Word has spread. No one will hire him. He ends up managing a check cashing store in a strip mall 3 towns over. Helping the same kinds of people he used to mock. Some call it karma. Others call it justice. Bradley calls it nothing. He doesn't have the words. Chelsea keeps her job. Barely. She completes every training module. Shows up early. Stays late. Never smirks at another customer again. 6 months later she transfers to a different branch. Needs a fresh start. 6 months after that, she quits banking entirely. Goes back to school. Becomes a social worker. She spends her days helping families navigate systems designed to exclude them. The same systems she once enforced. The irony isn't lost on her. Neither is the lesson. 3 weeks after the incident, Jerome faces his first test. A young Hispanic woman comes into the bank. Nervous. Uncertain. Her English isn't perfect. She struggles to explain what she needs. A new teller, young and impatient, is getting frustrated. His sighs are getting louder. His eye rolls more obvious. Jerome walks over. "Is there a problem here?" The teller starts to explain. Jerome cuts him off. "This woman is a customer. She deserves patience and respect. Help her properly or I will find someone who can." The teller's eyes go wide. He apologizes. Helps the woman with genuine care. Jerome goes back to his post. His heart is pounding. His hands are shaking. But he spoke up. For the first time in 11 years, he spoke up. And it feels like breathing after being underwater for too long. Patricia doesn't stop with Bradley. Within 3 months, she implements sweeping changes across the entire region. Mandatory bias training. Every employee. Every quarter. No exceptions. New customer service protocols. Every inquiry handled within 15 minutes, regardless of appearance. Mystery shoppers hired to test compliance. An anonymous reporting hotline for customers and staff alike. Zero tolerance for discrimination. A small plaque is mounted at every entrance. Every customer deserves respect. First National Heritage Bank. It's not revolutionary. It won't fix centuries of systemic racism overnight. But it's a start. A real one. Patricia makes one more change. A personal one. She calls Lawrence directly. "I want to do more than just discipline bad behavior," she says. "I want to honor your mother's legacy." "What would that look like?" Lawrence thinks about it. Talks to Wesley. Talks to his memories of Eleanor. A week later, they announce it. The Eleanor Brooks Memorial Scholarship. Named after Wesley's grandmother. Funded by the bank. Administered by a community foundation. Every year, 2 scholarships awarded. Full tuition. Books. Living expenses. The recipients? Students from underserved communities pursuing degrees in education. Teachers teaching future teachers. Eleanor Brooks's legacy multiplied. The first recipients will be announced the following fall. The selection committee includes community leaders, educators, and one very special advisor. Wesley Brooks. 10 years old. Already changing the world. When Lawrence tells him about the scholarship, Wesley is quiet for a long time. They named it after Grandma? They did. So her dream keeps living. So she keeps helping kids even though she's gone. Wesley looks at the framed photo on his dresser. Grandma Eleanor smiling. Wearing her old coat and her old shoes. She would have cried, Wesley says. Happy tears. Yeah. Lawrence's voice is thick. She would have. Wesley walks to his closet. Pulls out his worn-out sneakers. The ones Bradley laughed at. He places them on his shelf next to the photo. He'll never throw them away. Never. 8 years later, Wesley Brooks walks across a sun-drenched campus. Georgetown University. First day of freshman orientation. 18 years old now. Tall. Confident. A far cry from the frightened 10-year-old in that marble lobby. But not entirely different. He still carries his grandmother's letter. Laminated and protected now. Tucked safely in his wallet. Close to his heart. And on the shelf in his dorm room sit those worn-out sneakers. Cracked soles. Frayed laces. Faded from years of careful display. His roommate notices them immediately. Bro, are those your shoes? They're completely destroyed. Wesley smiles. They're the most valuable thing I own. Valuable? They look like they belong in a trash can. Wesley picks them up gently. Runs his thumb over the cracked leather. My grandmother bought these for me when I was 10. $2 from a thrift store. She apologized because she couldn't afford better. He sets them back on the shelf. She saved $500,000 for my education. Wore the same coat for 15 years. Took the bus in the rain. Ate cheap food so I could have a future. He looks at his roommate. These shoes remind me that love isn't about what you have. It's about what you give. His roommate is quiet for a long moment. That's actually really beautiful, man. Yeah. Wesley touches the shoes one more time. She was really beautiful. Lawrence Brooks continues running Meridian Capital, but he makes changes too. He starts a mentorship program for young people from underserved communities. Paid internships. Real opportunities. Actual career paths. Not charity. Investment. Talent is distributed equally, he tells his board. Opportunity isn't. We can change that. The Eleanor Brooks Memorial Scholarship flourishes. 14 recipients in 8 years. Teachers. Counselors. Principals. All carrying Eleanor's legacy forward. All teaching future generations. Jerome retires from the bank 3 years after the incident. But he doesn't disappear. He becomes a school resource officer. Different kind of security. Protecting kids instead of removing them. Every time he stands up for a student, he thinks of Wesley. Every time he speaks against injustice, he honors the promise he made. He never stays silent again. Not once. Diane joins the bank's community advisory board. The woman who watched in silence becomes a voice for change. She volunteers at schools. Speaks to students about courage. About speaking up. About the cost of silence. I was a bystander once, she tells them. I chose to stay quiet. It's a choice I regret every single day. Don't make my mistake. Chelsea finds her redemption in social work. She spends her days helping families like the ones she used to dismiss. She never forgets Wesley. Never forgets how close she came to being exactly like Bradley. She's different now. Not perfect, but genuinely different. Bradley? Nobody really knows what happened to Bradley. Some say he moved to another state. Started over. Changed his name. Some say he never recovered. Drank himself into obscurity. Some say he finally understood what he'd done. Spent his days volunteering at shelters, trying to make amends. Nobody knows for sure. Maybe that's its own kind of justice. Wesley stands at his dorm window as the sun sets over Georgetown. Tomorrow classes start. His future begins. He pulls out his grandmother's letter. Reads it one more time. The words he knows by heart. My brave Wesley, never let anyone make you feel small. You are worth more than they will ever know. Dignity is not given. It is carried. Carry yours with pride. He carried it through the worst day of his life. Through years of growing up. Through the journey that brought him here. His phone buzzes. Uncle Lawrence. First day tomorrow. How are you feeling, champ? Nervous. Excited. Ready. Your grandma would be so proud of you. I know. Wesley looks at the worn-out shoes on his shelf. I think about her every day. She's with you, Wesley. Always will be. They talk for a few more minutes. Then Wesley hangs up. He has orientation to attend. A future to build. A legacy to honor. He grabs his backpack. Brand new. Expensive. A gift from Uncle Lawrence. But on his feet are the old sneakers. The ones he brought to campus. The ones he wears on special occasions. Today feels like a special occasion. Wesley Brooks walks out of his dorm room into his future. Carrying his dignity with pride. Just like Grandma Eleanor taught him. Now look. Respect is not a reward for success. It's not earned by money or fancy clothes or knowing the right people. It's the baseline of humanity. The minimum we owe each other. Wesley didn't need a powerful uncle to deserve basic decency. No one does. But that day in the bank, he learned something important. Some people measure your worth by your shoes. Others by your wallet. A few rare ones measure it by your character. Be one of the rare ones. And if you ever find yourself in a lobby watching someone get humiliated, ask yourself this: which person do you want to be? The one who laughed? The one who filmed? The one who stayed silent? Or the one who spoke up? The choice is yours. It's always yours. Dignity is not given. It is carried. Carry yours with pride. And help others carry theirs. That's how we change the world. One small act of courage at a time. If this story made you think about something you witnessed or stayed silent about, don't just scroll past. Share it. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Not for us. For the next Wesley who walks in somewhere alone and needs someone to speak up.